Shalom. Here again with another update on things we found for our case in hopes that it may help someone else. Again, we are not lawyers, we do not give legal advice. We're just here to give our testimony about our trials and tribulations with child support. So, if you go to the TransUnion website, you will be able to find, like we did, a letter saying, important notice. Credit reports for collections of delinquent child support judgments, fines, and liens may no longer be permitted. And then go ahead and read everything they say. But this has been on there since 2003. So tell me why the agency still does what they want? Okay. This is a really good one because it just proves that the court and IVD, which is child support, they have agreements, they have contracts, which create a bias. The court is going to find you guilty of not doing your job as a quote unquote non-custodial parent because it benefits them. It's like me suing my neighbor and the judge is my homie from church. It's not right. So I found this cooperative arrangements letter, and it says publicated date October 19, 1988, and it says current as of June 3rd, 2025. And I'm not sure if this is like what it's titled, but it says AT-88-16. And it says action transmittal. And I'm going to post it so when you're listening to this, you can look at the screen. And it says proposed regulation. State agencies administering child support enforcement plans under Title IVD of the Social Security Act and other interested individuals. Subject: cooperative arrangements. Attachment: attached are proposed regulations which set forth 6 provisions that must be contained in all cooperative agreements between IVD agencies and courts and law enforcement officials. So sheriffs, court of whoever you're in, and IVD agencies, which is child support agencies. This, my friend, is a bias and is against the law because you are due a fair trial. Fair trial is under the 6th Amendment. It says that you have a right to an impartial jury. Okay, cooperative agreements are under 45 CFR 30234. And you're also entitled by the 7th Amendment to have a jury trial. And most courts don't want to deal with that because it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time. Okay, so let's move on to 45 CFR 3035. 303.5. It's 45 CFR 303.5. This is titled Public Welfare, Subtitle B, Regulations Relating to Public Welfare, Chapter 3, Office of Child Support Services, Administration of Family and Services, Department of Health and Human Services, Part 303, Standards for Program Operations. Okay, so let's go to section G, because the first section says establishment of paternity. Um, and well, actually, before we move on, in 303.5, establishment of paternity, section 1, it says provide alleged father the opportunity to voluntarily acknowledge paternity. Okay, but the thing is, too, that if you go to G, it says voluntary paternity establishment programs. Listen to that again. Voluntary paternity establishment programs. It is voluntary. Again, what does voluntary mean? Let's ask Google. Hey Google, what does voluntary mean? Definition on Webster's dictionary.
Merriam Webster defines voluntary as acting by choice or done of one's own free will. It also refers to actions that are controlled by the mind rather than occurring automatically.
So they can't be forced, they can't be bullied out of you. It has to come from you because you want to. Okay? And I understand that some of these men on child support don't want to do their job as a father. Um, and so I'm not blaming people for wanting to put their child's father or mother on child support because they're not doing their part. We're specifically talking about the violations of people's rights and how coerced the system is when it comes to child support. In my husband's case, he was not able to take care of himself, let alone take care of anyone else. And that is why the government has set up these TANF grants for mothers or fathers who have to take care of their children on their own. Let's not even talk about the fact that half of these people, because I had a friend who was an investigator for the welfare department. So many people lie about their income. So many people lie about the dad living with them. So many people lie about other men or women living with them and helping them financially. People lie on their stuff all the time. And so, I know that a lot of now I'm going to get political, but a lot of people don't want like drug. I believe, this is my opinion, don't hate me, but it would eliminate a lot of people who take advantage of our system. Drug addicts, if they drug tested, if they did pop up check-ins about the parents. How many people or children have we found have been abused by their parent who doesn't want to work or who's on drugs or who's on an alcoholic, and because they're the quote unquote custodial parent, they're getting free stuff, free grants, so that they can abuse their children and misuse that mistreat them and abuse them. you know I know for a fact, a lot of kids nowadays, they suffer from depression, they suffer from anxiety, because the parents, especially in low income areas where there's no education or they don't believe in psychological help or going to a therapist, a psychiatrist, you find a lot of people who are not mentally stable. So, it's a very hard thing to talk about. Some people may not agree with me, and that's fine. This is the beauty of being a mature adult, is that we don't have to agree. Okay, let's move on. So in this section, you will find that voluntary is, in this section specifically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 times. 20 times it says voluntary. And it's been my husband's experience that it has not been a voluntary process with these people. It has been bullying, threatening, calling, taking away, garnishing. I mean, you guys saw in my last video that the summons threatened him with taking his possessions. Even on the first paperwork. We also included, this is another thing I wanted to go over with you guys. We also are including every single type of coercive thing they've done with dates, including the summons and complaint, threatening to remove our property, including the last letter we got from child support saying, let me read to you the things they said they were going to take away. I've decided I'm going to put it on the screen for you guys. The following may be taken: threats, federal and state tax returns, federal payment owed to you, any lottery winnings or other money owed to you by the state, money or assets in bank accounts that have your name and social security number, a portion of any money owed to you as an independent contractor, any portion of any disability unemployment benefits, any portion and any personal injury settlement or workers' compensation payments, a portion of retirement or pension benefits, including military retirement and public employee retirement system, any other payments or credits coming to you regardless of source, suspension or denial of state issues license, including driver's license, recreational or professional licenses, cancellation or restriction of any existing passport or denial of any application for a new or renewed passport, credit report information submitted to credit bureaus. We must report your monthly child support total, past due balances, and whether you make your payments on time. Threats, 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 threats. And best believe they do it with an unenforceable judgment with no that lacks no judicial seals. And sometimes not even a signature, not even a wet signature. These judges had their assistants stamp it. How do we know that the judge they're not even judges, they're commissioners. They're glorified attorneys. That's why when you go into court, it says, do you agree to being seen by a commissioner? How many of you had a sit down explanation of what could a commissioner is? They're not even allowed to take a picture of themselves in the black robe because they're not a judge. Because they are not a judge. And so they've been enforcing all these threats, which they actually do without an enforceable judgment. And so that's why people are so scared of them. And whatever they say, they do. Whatever, they wouldn't even bother. They're not even bothering to respond. People are not even bothering to respond because they don't know what to do. They haven't even served you. Most people. So, sorry, I get really passionate about this and I get really irritated. It just hurts my heart that people are getting taken advantage of, bullied, mistreated, and these bitter, quote unquote, custodial parents are getting a kick out of you losing your driver's license. Well, this is how stupid custodial parent is. Because how do they expect you to pay child support if your driver's license is taken away and you can't get to work? Not very good thinking, is it? But what again, we're talking about low income, poor people who don't know the law, they don't know their rights, they don't know their left hand from their right hand. And so they're like, yeah, it sounds good to me. Let's do it. Let's talk about credit reporting. I did mention the beginning of my video, the TransUnion letter. At the bottom of that letter states Kevin D. Miller versus TransUnion. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. LLC, Experian. So if you look up that case law, that is something you can use. Also, that's what we're using to contest the credit reporting. Again, unenforceable judgments. First of all, because if you weren't served like we were, my husband was not personally served. And according to their own website, AC, I believe it's acf.gov. If you go to chapter 8, where they're giving recommendations to lawyers, it says personal jurisdiction is required. That means they cannot subserve you. They cannot serve it to your neighbors who happens to be standing in front of your home, your kids' friends, or like in my husband's case, they subserved at his ex-wife's house. He was already in jail for 2 months. And so they said that they served his quote unquote brother. So I hope this helps. I want to pray for you guys. You are in my prayers, and you can always reach out to us if you just want prayer. If for any reason you're interested in our objection cards, I made objection cards. They're like flashcards, so you could study the objections, because every time you object in your case, you have the right to appeal off those objections and prove something. Even if you don't know what you're objecting to, you could just object and say, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I don't know what the objection is for, but I know I'm going to want to, reflect on it later. If something doesn't sound right, object. God bless you guys. Have a beautiful day.